Hello, fairy finders and fairy seekers. Welcome to FaerieQuest and another episode of Real Fairies in Real Photos. This time we are at Tower Rock Park, and this video is just a special edition, which means I have taken a few of the fairies and some oddities that I have found and placed them into this video for you. The other photographs that I have taken will be in a three-part series at Tower Rock Park. Now, Tower Rock Park is in Steamboat Rock, Iowa, and my husband and I went to this park on July 12th, 2022 to take photos. That was the point for me, and he was doing some metal detecting. So I want to share with you first in this video a little bit about what it looks like, which will be quick, and then move into some of the photographs that I just hope you find them as fascinating as I did, because wow, this place, the pictures maybe had one or two, some of them had five, very few, but what was there is phenomenal for fairy folk. So I'm going to get my face off the screen here and we're going to get into the video. So Tower Rock Park is named mostly for the towering bluffs. It's such a beautiful place. Now this is where the campground once was, where people would come down and camp right by the bluffs, and the river is, when you're facing away from the bluffs, the river is right there. So it was a fantastic place to be able to camp. That doesn't happen anymore. They've closed down to campers. They do have cabins up above, but these bluffs are very, very tall, and they go for a good distance. I only captured a bit of it for you on camera here, but as you can see, they are heavy, thick, and again, very, very tall. You can also see, if you come closer, that once upon a time, there was the ability to get to these bluffs, and people did their little carvings to let the world know that they'd been there. And then if you turn your back on the bluffs, here you have the river. And the river is a really beautiful place. This whole place is gorgeous, and it's a place where a lot of people go to fish because it is very quiet. When we were there, there was one other guy there fishing. That was it. It's not like there's crowds of people, and there were no other people up above either. So it's a very quiet and beautiful place. At one time, years ago, my husband and I brought the girls, when they were younger, to here, and the water level was very low, and we actually did some gold panning, which was fun. They have tubing down this river also, and I think we're going to attempt to do some magnet fishing sometime this summer. Let's move on to the photos now. Okay, so here is the first photograph. It's photograph number 1740, and it's of a stump. Now, a stump may seem like a really odd thing to take a photograph of, but I don't miss any opportunities. Something that appeals to me with the eye, that I'm just kind of drawn to, I feel there's a reason for it. So I will go ahead and go all the way around this stump and take photographs from different angles. I'm glad I do. This one, what I want you to see is this absolutely amazing little nature fairy, is what I'm going to call her. And she is right here. So let me get a little bit closer and get the pointer here. And we can see part of her. Now, I don't know if the rest of her body is kind of floated back this way, or she just doesn't need the rest of her body with how she functions in our realm. However, we can definitely see her head, little round head, and she has eyes with what looks like very long eyelashes, little nose, little mouth. Here's her arm and her hand, and she has like one of these tendrils around her wrist, like a bracelet almost. And here it appears that she is talking with, or aiding perhaps, a little being that reminds me of a caterpillar. And if I take this up to 300, which I don't like doing, but for your sake here to be able to see a little better, this little being has an eye right here and a little nose. I believe this is an arm and a hand, very short, little belly roll lines, and it is shaped like a caterpillar. I don't believe that all of this here is the little caterpillar being, and I'm just guessing on this caterpillar. I'm not sure what kind of fairy it is, but it looks like here we have a leaf over her head. There's a leaf that this one is tucked into as well. So they have their heads very close together. I am just so overjoyed at having been able to take a photo of this little being, both little beings. I believe this one as a nature spirit is a healer, a counselor perhaps. At any rate, she is doing her work right now with this other little being, and I hope you can see what I can see because she really is phenomenal. So moving on, we have photo number 1759, and this one is one of the oddities that I talked about. In one of the most recent videos that I did, I shared something about orbs and how orbs oftentimes will have faces in them. It is a way for travelers to view the world without ever leaving home from whatever dimension they're in. They can use an orb, pay an orb, and say, hey, can I, travel with you? So they can view through the orb, and the orb can travel, and they do not have to move. Now, how exactly that works, I'm not positive, but the information came from a couple that studied orbs and took photos and photos and photos of orbs for a long time and communicated with them telepathically and also through dowsing. The information that they received is what I shared with you about the faces in the orbs. And not all of them, obviously, are used for travel, and some of them are used in a kind of a slavery kind of way as well. So, those kinds of things not only happen on planet Earth, they happen in other dimensions, other locations as well. But as you can see from this photograph, we have a face in this orb. So, and a very surprised face as well, the way it looks, because we have kind of a mouth and an O. But here's the eye, here's an eye, here's a nose, and again the mouth. So someone is viewing through this beautiful purple orb. And because the orb is this color, I believe that whoever is viewing through it is a very healthy individual, and it is a mutual consent kind of agreement going on here. Otherwise, this orb might be a very dull, unhappy color. So that was kind of one of the oddities that I wanted to share with you, and it is beautiful in the picture itself by the bluffs. But paying close attention and maybe surprised that I was there photographing. Okay, so moving on to photo 1775. And this one, I hope you get as big of a giggle out of it as I did. In fact, I really couldn't believe that this is what I found in the photo. But I'm going to enlarge this one a little bit, and she's over on the left-hand edge, as I've been finding many of them want to be, or seem to be. And she is, and I had to look for her, but she is right here. And I'm going to go up another notch here for you. And we can see a conical hat. We can see dark hair. We can see an eyebrow, eyelashes on the eye, a very long nose, and her chin. We have what we know as a witch depicted in movies here, like the Wicked Witch of the East and the Wizard of Oz. We can't see the rest of her, but down here we can see there's a cat, a black cat. And I did not see this at first until I actually cropped her from the photo, but we're going to bring it up a little bit here again so you can see the cat better. But we have ears right here, we have the eyes, we have a nose, and it's laying down here. But right beneath her, and perhaps sitting on something she's carrying perhaps, or I'm not sure. But anyway, this cracked me up. I just couldn't help it, because who would ever expect to find a fairy that looks like a witch from one of our movies? Sorry, I just think that's great. So I'm hoping you can see her well. Moving on to picture number 1779. This one is kind of an odd, I just haven't quite figured it out yet. Now we have a log here that goes up to about here. Okay, and then we have this odd shaped kind of round circle here. And if we blow it up bigger, it has the sunlight here. And there is, you know, part of a log here, but I think that's behind. It's almost like a tree back there. But as you can see, this log ends here. So if you look closely at this round ball, you see an eye and a nose. And there is a mouth here, but there's something in that mouth. So I'm not really sure what this is, but it's an oddity. So I added it into this video because it's the oddity video with the amazing, amazing fairies. But can you see that face there? And this round ball outlined by the sun. Kind of an amazing picture there. So if I take it down a little bit, it's not an orb. At least I don't think it's an orb. It doesn't look anything like your typical orb, but who knows? Maybe it is an orb. Okay, moving on to photo number 1794. This one, the second I pulled the photo up, I spotted this little guy, and I forced myself to start at the beginning like I always do and wait until I reached him. But you don't have to do that. So I'm going to show you this sad little fella here, or at least he looks sad. Do you see him? He's right here. Here's his head. His ear is sticking out here. Here's the other ear. His eyes are closed. Here's his little nose. Here's his arm. And he just looks so sad. And I also kind of get a kick out of this because the leaf looks like it has eyes. So I wonder, it's almost like he's reached out. And I don't know if he can touch this leaf or not, but maybe there's something to this leaf I don't know. But he is the cutest little fella. And then on top of that, when I moved over this way, I see her, okay? We have a being that she has blended herself, or she's made of leaves originally, I don't know. But we can see her head right here. Here's one big eye. It looks like she's got the other eye closed, but you can see her arm with the edge of the leaf coming up and like wiping underneath her eye. And she's like right here with him. And then there's also these ones here. Okay, there's a couple more. We have an eye here, we have an eye here, they're peeking, and an eyebrow, they're peeking through. We have one here that has kind of yellowish hair, there's the eye, other eye you can hardly see, but we see a nose and a mouth. And then over here we see an eye and an eye. So these guys are all together in one place. But the sad look on this little one's face is just heart-wrenching. And I told my husband, I showed him, and I'm like, I hope that doesn't mean I stepped on somebody. When I take photographs, I always stay on the path. I never go into or step into the foliage. So I would never walk up to this log, which was, in some foliage like this. I would never do that. So I'm always on the path and pretty much always looking down because I'm looking for the best place to take a photo. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I didn't step on anybody because, as always, I did not leave the path, but I just could not believe they're right there. You can't miss them, all in one little place. And he may just be, I don't know, focusing or meditating. It's just the way that his body is. Here's part of his body, his arm, and the way his head is down. He may just be looking down at something, but he just looks so sad. And, then having seen her wiping her eye, I don't know. Anyway, I'd love to hear your take on this photo in the comments. Okay, so moving on to photo number 1801. This is an interesting one also. So we'll make this one a bit bigger. And we'll slide over here, and the first thing I want you to take notice of is right here. This. Now right away, it's a root, right? There's roots all over the place, but this one just reminded me of like a mummy box, an upright mummy box that you see in movies, because we have the green that kind of has given it part of the face here. But anyway, I wanted to show you that. But the thing that I really want to share with you here is this guy. Okay, now it's not often that I see hair that is so three-dimensional. A lot of times the fairies are kind of two-dimensional, but this guy has the hair, and you can see his face. He's frowning. And you see his nose, you see his hair. Now the weird thing is, we can go down here and we see a shoe here, and we see a shoe here, and we see leg, and he's got like a longer, geez, I don't know what this is. I'm not going to say a skirt. It's like medieval looking. And we can't, this piece of foliage, this is in front of him, okay? So this is not his arm, thankfully, because as you can see, it would be totally out of sync. So we can't see, his upper body very well because of the dark behind, but we can definitely tell, that he's here. We can see the legs and the feet, and this is his, but look how real he looks. And when you back it up, now that you know he's there, when you back up the picture, you can see him. He's standing there holding his ground and is quite something. See, he blends, but he also stands out in his own way. So now we're moving on to the very last picture in this video. This is photo number 1807. And I took pictures of the larger rocks that were up above where we had to park. And then we could go down towards the river and the bluffs. There's rocks like this in a row, and then on the other side of them are like picnic tables and things like that. So I always look at the rocks and of course everything around it. And I even, I start down here at 200% and I do the scope, so I start here like this, and I do the scope across. I always start right there, do the scope across, covering all this and all the way across, and I do that through the entire photo. Now there are things that I found in this photo, and you'll see those in the other 3 videos. But what fascinated me with this one is I think I found a little skull. And I'm so sorry that I can't really make it super duper clear for you, because as it stands, I'm at 300%. I don't usually go any higher than 200, and I always save at 100%. If you look here, we have a little skull. Interestingly enough, this little skull has an ear, but we have teeth, and we have an eye, we have the shape of the skull. And you know, I'm sure fairies must pass at some point in time, or, you know, maybe they get ill. I don't know, but this kind of took me by surprise, because you don't really think of fairies and death. Any kind, you know, although they probably have battles and things like that, certainly, but look at that. Isn't that crazy? So that's one of the oddities also that I wanted to share with you, and I'd like to know what you think of that one. Again, not being able to blow it up very large for you is kind of a bummer, but because it's so small and I didn't know it was there until I came home and saw it in the picture, I had to share it, because it's one of those really unique things that you might not think to look for if you yourself are looking for fairies and you're only looking for fairies. There's so much out there that is unique also to photograph and or to look for in the photos. There's buildings, you would have to go back and look at some of my other videos. I actually have buildings and little cars and things like that that I've photographed amongst the foliage that are quite clear. And you know, so there's a lot of different things that you can come across. Just don't miss any of them, because don't disregard them just because you think, oh, that's not possible. That is it for this video. This was the special edition. I hope you enjoyed it, and that you'll make some comments down below about some of these images that you saw. So until next time, I'm going to try and get the 3 videos done for you for Tower Rock. So be patient with me. It does take time to actually put them into video form. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, take care.